All right, I'm good.
All right, happy Friday, y'all.
Happy Friday. Yes.
It is so good to be here with you all. Happy relationship Friday.
Happy Relationship Friday. Whether you in a relationship or not, happy Relationship Friday. Okay.
Okay. So happy Friday, y'all. I'm excited to be here with you all again. Um, y'all know how we do. When y'all come in, I want you to let us know where you are tuning in from. It's another Relationship Friday. Y'all know we always have a good time, and we are going to have a great time today as well. So,
Yes.
listen, as y'all see, I have some guests with me. So, we have our male, we got our female. They're going to introduce themselves in just a second. But for those of y'all who, if this is your first time tuning in with us, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Rachel Hunter. I am your licensed clinical social worker with RDH Counseling and Consulting, where we help you become your healthiest self. So I'm excited to be here with you all. For those of y'all who are watching us via a watch party, hello, hello, hello. We want to see your comments. So make sure that you are commenting on the right side. And that's the live side. We're streaming to, let me see, where we're streaming to. So we're a little fancy, Janelle and Ryan. We are streaming to YouTube. We're also Facebook and then LinkedIn. So this will be our second or third time doing LinkedIn. So I'm excited to be here and to have you all here with me. So as y'all come in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Also invite. Listen, we are talking about the slap, y'all. So we're going to
Get your popcorn, y'all. Get your popcorn, get your wine, get whatever you got to get. Okay. It's going to be a good conversation today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So come on in and invite. And we're going to talk, right? Because we've been hearing about this whole conversation, but y'all know us, we kind of take it from the therapeutic perspective, right? So we're kind of looking at it from, okay, we're talking about men, Black men in America, what their ideas about this pressure to do things that maybe they normally wouldn't. And then we as women, like, where do we fit into this, and how do we want to be protected? What does protection even look like? So we're going to get into all of that tonight. All of that. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves. We'll start with Miss Janelle. We'll let the ladies go first. So we'll start with Miss Janelle. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Rachel, for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation just because we are going to bring a whole different spin and dynamic on the slap on this evening. And I'm super excited. My name is Janelle Reed, and I own a business called Divine Career Solutions, which is an HR and business consultancy. And I happily, proudly, and honorably teach business owners how to deliver workforce solutions at their best to make their 6 and 7 figure people processes. Without the people, you have no business. So you have to have the people processes in place. So I am super excited about tonight to be able to speak on this topic and just to be able to join Rachel and Ron and just have some good conversation. So if you haven't done so, share, click, like, share, click, like, share, click, and like, all at the same time, because you are going to want to have be a part of this conversation and this discussion, and you're going to be mad because you didn't share it with your friends. So go ahead and share it right now so you can be ahead of the game. And so that's who I am.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. All right, Ryan, we are ready for you. So we have our fella here tonight. And Ryan, take it away. Tell us who you are.
What's up, family? Facebook family, YouTube family, and all the streaming families. Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is Ryan Ruffner. Yes, indeed. And I'm a certified mental health coach and counselor. Yes, indeed, I am. I love talking about mental health. I'm also a youth pastor. I serve as youth pastor and prophetic minstrel of a place of worship. Ministries right here in the city of Atlanta, Georgia, under the leadership of Apostle Dr. Juan Bellard. I am a husband of one wife, not 2, 3, 4, 5, one wife, praise God. And we have 3 beautiful children, man. I'm so excited. And I'm ready to really just chime in and get started and just have some fun with this talk, man, this good kingdom mental health talk. So, yep.
Awesome. Listen, we are going to have a great time. Welcome for those of y'all who have just joined us. Welcome. When you come in, let us know where you are tuning in from. We want to shout you out. So we've got Ryan is in Atlanta, and Jersey is in the building. Listen, Ryan has some really good music. The link was just posted in there. So connect, check him out. Listen, Janelle is going to get you all the way right. She's getting me all the way right, y'all. So the other thing too, Janelle has a conference coming up. And
Power Up in Business. Power Up in Business. It is going to be here in New Jersey, April 20th through April 22nd. It is going to be amazing. I have some amazing speakers coming in, and we're going to talk about money, mindset, how to get it all in order, how to get that money, how to keep that money, how to grow that money, how to make it money and then make it wealth. And do it all over again, how to serve, to sell, and how to keep your faith as the seed planted in it for it to be able to grow. So I am super excited. You can get your tickets at powerupinbusiness.com to register.
Okay. Get your life together. I'm going, and
yes.
I'm excited. All right. So listen, y'all already know what it is. We are talking about the slap. So I want to start there. I just want to kind of before we dig in. Hey, Vernell joining us from Chesapeake is in the building. We got Brandy tuning in from Chesapeake. Hey. Chesapeake is definitely in the building. Listen, thank y'all, those that have shared. Thank you very much. Share, invite, because y'all are going to want to be a part of this conversation. So I'm going to start with Janelle. Janelle, you seen this? And I know everybody has seen
the slap.
The slap. Start me there. Like, what was how did it catch you? What were your thoughts? And then from the female Jada's, take it.
So first, let me say, I honestly, at first, I thought the slap was like a joke. I said, wait a minute, did I miss the joke? Because I thought I had went downstairs real quick, came back upstairs. I thought I had missed a whole segment of something that went down.
Yep.
And so as it started to go on, and then you start to see Will, ranting after the slap, I said, oh, wait a minute, this is real.
Serious. Yeah.
And what really honestly caught my attention in my eye was Serena's reaction, because the camera was going back and forth between Will at the stage and then also Serena at the time. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the look on her face was just like, is this real? I'm sure like everybody else, this is just, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was, or I paid attention to the fact that, yes, it was a slap. And yes, it was just, completely just taken off guard. Mm-hmm. But I also paid attention to Jada.
What did you notice?
Here's what I noticed about it. When Chris Rock made that comment about G.I. Jane, which I do not believe was offensive, my own personal opinion, people have said way worse.
Yeah.
And so, but I looked at her face initially when Chris said it, and it was kind of like a rolling of the eyes, like, almost like somebody said something and it bothered you, but you roll your eyes and you keep moving.
Yeah.
So between her making that facial gesture and then Will getting up, because he was semi-smiling when Chris was initially talking, we forget that piece. He was semi-smiling. I was trying to understand that by the time he was getting up to go and smack Chris Rock, Jada had no response to it. She was still sitting in her seat.
Gotcha.
She was still just like, like there wasn't, and that to me as a woman alarmed me because there is one thing, quite another, and we'll talk about this, of how we as women want to feel protected. But in that moment, I felt like she let Will down and wasn't honestly protecting him, because at such a critical and monumental moment,
Yeah.
you allowed that one comment to
Yeah.
be able to dictate how
Yeah.
we responded to a monumental night.
Yeah.
And for me as a woman, it made me think about how important it is for not just for us as women to be the peace, but to protect the peace for our husbands, our sons, our, like all of that. And it made me inside say, that was one of those times where you do the kind of the honey stroke, like, babe, not today. We're not going to do this today. Okay, I love you. We're not going to do this today. We can have a conversation about this. You know, Chris Rock, y'all can have a conversation after tonight, but to subject ourselves to such a public humiliation in that way, not for Chris Rock, but for Will and his family and even his lineage, was just, to me, just taken aback. And I'm taking it, and I want this tonight to talk about from the woman's perspective, because I do feel like there is some ownership as women, what we view as what's safe, what we feel as protected, because I don't think it was about protecting at all. Because if it was, there would have been a different approach to it. And I think as a woman, that wasn't protecting Will in any way, shape, or form, nor was it defending her honor, but there was a whole different level of things that were happening. So
I love the perspective, right? Because what I'm hearing you say is that there were nuances in the behavior that were kind of like, what is this really about? And the other piece, and we're going to talk more about it. And ladies, y'all know I'm going to want y'all opinion on it. But what I'm hearing you say, Janelle, is that there are responsibilities that we as women have, and we have influence to be able to be that calming effect, and to kind of be thinking about the bigger picture of, babe, don't worry about that. It's not that serious, or hey, we'll handle this later on, or whatever it is. So that is interesting. We're definitely going to come back to that. All right. So for you, Ryan, what kind of stood out to you? What, as a man watching that, and audience, I want y'all to think about that question as well and put it in the chat. What stood out to y'all most about the slap, or what did you notice about the slap? So, Ryan, you see the slap, the man goes up, like, where are you with all of this? What do you think?
I mean, look, it took me by surprise. Like, wow, Will went up here and did that. Like, whoa. But so when I first saw that, I was like, wow. And I'm a type of person, I don't like drama. I don't like mess. They got TMZ for that type of stuff. Like, I can't stand TMZ. I can't stand the Wendy Williams show. I can't take anybody that be gossiping. I just don't like it. And so my first thought was, see, people going to just make fun of Will and make fun and then talk about him. I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
But I did hear it on the local gospel station. I heard about what they were talking about it and whatnot. And so I was in shock. I couldn't believe that actually happened. My wife, I think she was the first one that told me, and because I had just woke up to get ready for work that morning. And when she gets up, of course, pray and all that stuff. And then she checks her phone. And I guess she saw Will slaps Chris Rock or whatever. All I heard was, wow, Will slapped Chris Rock. So she said it. I was like, what? I said, and I just kept getting dressed for work. I'm like, look, I ain't got time for that. But that was my initial reaction. But then I started getting interested. Like, well, what happened? Why did this happen? So later learned that Chris Rock made a joke. And so I said, well, let me hear the joke. I'm not one to jump to conclusions. At least I try not to. I want to hear the whole story first. Sometimes you got to hear. Sometimes you got to hear. 5 sides of the story, because one side don't tell it right. The other side, you got to get to the 5th side, and that's probably the right one, right? But I just wanted to hear what happened, and so the G.I. Jane joke or whatever. So at first I didn't get it. I said, well, what does that mean, G.I. Jane? And why did he get upset? And so after I saw the video, of course, needless to say, it was on YouTube. I said, well, let me look it up to see what happened, how it happened, the events that led to it. And so he made the joke. Immediately, the camera shifted to Jada. Yeah. And she kind of smiled for a second. Then she put her head down and just started kind of shaking her head. Yeah. Will Smith, however, he immediately laughed.
He was
Like,
laughing.
He
Yes.
immediately laughed. It was not like a, oh man, and then like kind of thing. Like
Yes.
he literally laughed.
Yes.
Then the camera didn't show. Now the one I watched, the camera didn't show after he laughed. It didn't show him look at Jada.
Gotcha.
But of course, you put two and two together. He must have saw her face, how she did not receive the joke well, and so that's what prompted him to go up and slap this man. Now we keep saying slap, and I'm honestly not trying to be funny here, but it really was a pimp slap. No, I'm serious.
So a very demeaning.
Very demeaning, like
Gotcha.
seriously, because there's different types of slaps.
Yeah.
That one was a pimp slap because the way he did it, and his hand went downward, like that literally was a pimp slap, and like he meant to do that. It took, he every ounce of strength and not depression, but you know his energy and his emotions. Emotions are the word I look for. He put all of that into that one slap, and so I'm thinking, going back, well, why did Chris Rock didn't move? He tried to move, but I felt like he was caught by surprise too.
Yeah,
because he's like, okay, I see Will coming up here. Will probably just gonna be like, man, don't talk about my wife, and they all just laugh. But Will came up there with an intentional to slap him. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so I will say I was not in agreement with what Will Smith did. I'm not judging him. I don't condone it. Neither do I condemn it. Right? He did what he felt like he needed to do. Would I have done it? No. I would have pulled Chris Rock to the side after the show, time out on the show, halftime on the show, or whatever.
Halftime.
You know,
I
would have been like, Chris, let me holler at you, bro. Let me holler at you, man. and honestly, no cap. Like people that's on here live, my wife is on here, whatever. They know my character. I'm not one. I'm from Inglewood, California, by the way.
Oh, snap.
I grew up around gang members and all that other stuff or whatever, right? But my mom kept me in church, so I'm not one to just bully people and all that. It takes me a long time to get to that beast mode. Like you have to literally do something really stupid and crazy to get to beast mode, right? But anyway, so for me, I was like, I would have handled it different. I would have been like, bro, like, what was that all about? Like, you made the joke about my wife, like, you know. So I would have approached him that way. I probably wouldn't even been angry, you know, but I would approach him and say, man, my wife didn't think that was cool, bro. Like, literally. Yeah. But here's the thing. Even though I would have responded that way, and at least, quote unquote, I say I would have responded that way. Yeah. But if I put myself in Will Smith's shoes, we know from what we've seen on social media, the media, whatever, that Will's been through a lot.
Now he's got a lot going on.
He got a long list, about 2-3 miles long list of stuff that this man has been through. Yeah. As a kid, we're not even talking about just TV shows. We're talking about as a kid, however he was treated and not allowed to speak. Because I heard one story said, well, you know, Will as a kid was not allowed to talk back. He was not allowed to express himself. He was not allowed to do something. So he started acting out so you think about it. He's on Bad Boys, right? Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2. Now he gets to beat up people, shoot people. Like he kind of like, of course it's not real, but he gets to act that character. Like I'm in control. I'm the man. I dare you to do some kind of thing. So it makes sense to me. Right. And so again, I don't agree with it. Okay. I wish he would have handled it different. He did not, but I do understand. No, what I don't understand, again, and I'll let you have it back. I don't understand how you initially laughed, but then you saw your wife's face, and then no. So it's like he almost like has two sides of him, or to please his wife. Yeah, he's switched up. Like the Gemini effect. You know, I'm a Gemini, by the way, which I don't go by.
No, hold on, let me stop you right there. Okay, let me stop you right there, because you're making some really good points, right? And I hear what you're saying, that as each person is different. So I think that's most important, that we can say, hey, this is what I would do, wouldn't do. But it sounds like for you, you can kind of understand a little bit about, like, especially his past, why he may have done what he did. But it sounds like we all have some questions about, like, how did we get there? I want to bring in some of the comments from the audience. So audience, y'all are doing really well. I laughed so hard. Becky said he smacked fire from his soul.
Yes, felt that.
Yes, oh my goodness. So Vernell said, and as y'all come in, share this, invite others to come in and take part in this. Vernell said that she agrees. It was unnecessary and uncalled for. She also said that she influenced, and this is going back to what you were saying, Janelle, right? As a wife, as a woman, that she influenced him to do something. Will was laughing before looking at his wife. I praise Chris for handling it the way that he did. Stay tuned. It will be on Red Talk. Of course, Jada should be ashamed of herself for causing the whole thing. When you hear that, Janelle, as a woman, as a female, what are your thoughts on that?
I really feel I agree, because I don't think we understand that it goes so much deeper, as Ryan was saying, it goes so much deeper, right? And I just think about how many times where Will probably had to deal with just, being married and having a marriage, it's you, your husband or your wife, and God.
Yeah.
And everything that goes on in that, and everything of how to manage that. There's so much that goes on to maintain it, to preserve it, to protect it, right? So as a woman, I think it was her job in that moment to protect Will. I'm not saying that she is responsible for her husband, but in the eyes of the Lord, you're married. It was her responsibility to not allow a legacy to be defined by a slap in the face. Yeah. And the mere fact that to me, I think some people are missing the fact of, and Vernell just said it, she had power. She had influence. Yeah. She had the power and the influence to be able just to tug Will, babe, you know what? It's not that serious. It's not that deep. We're not going to, let's not do this here. We got Chris Rock's number. We know where he lives. We can have a conversation after today, which is not going to be the last time we see him. Yeah. But it also showed from a woman's perspective, it also showed that those times when we're supposed to, as the woman in the marriage, right? Yeah. That we're supposed to be able to, again, have that protection and be that peace. Even if it offended her, babe, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, we'll deal with this in another way. And now, fast forward, it's the slap that's remembered. It's that not so great moment. And here we are now, where Will Smith has stepped down from the Academy and no longer, right, has the award. And so what profited the man? Yeah. To get that, and now it absolutely means nothing. But the other piece of this is, from a woman's perspective, and even from Will, and I hope he sees this, is that when you slapped Chris Rock, you weren't just representing what you felt, but you were having other people to look at us as a whole of how we respond to things. You're looking at, I think about the young Black men who are looking at that of no self-control. And then I'm also looking at the women. I'm looking at the women of, did you think that was okay? Do you think that that's a husband material of defending your honor? Do you think that that's okay? Did you feel safe in that moment? So I absolutely 1,000% agree. I absolutely don't condone what happened at all for Will, but I also believe that there is accountability on both his end and Jada's end on, this should not have gone down. And I should have, I'm not controlling Will, but I, as his wife, should have been able to, babe, we're not going to, again, do it. And also, babe, I'm not going to allow us to, what we worked so hard for, and the legacy. And also Serena and Venus Williams, their father's legacy. It's so much tied into this. It's so much bigger than us. It's so much bigger than the slap, right? It's the consequences and the repercussions of what happened in that slap.
Yeah. I want to kind of talk about some of what you're saying, right? Because this is kind of definitely tying into this, the questions, right? And the audience is just throwing their comments out. I am loving it. So when you're talking about, I want to go back to what you mentioned, and I really want us to start there, right? So as women, what are we, when we're thinking about this idea of protection, especially the Black woman, right? Like, I'm just going to go there, right? Because we as Black women, a lot of times, are really not treated very well whatsoever, right? So I want to kind of start there, right? What is our perception of protection? What does protection look like when we're married, right? The spouse, what, in your thoughts, in your mind, what does that look like? And how important is that?
So that's very important. And I'm going to answer this question because I was married for 10 years and I recently divorced. I've been divorced a year. And my perception when I first got married of safety and protection for me was, yes, my husband, protects us, physically, me, our family, right? My daughter, all of that, right? If something goes left, he's there. He's being my peace, right? But what I learned was that those things, yes, they are important, but I never valued protection at that time, the protection of me spiritually, emotionally, and physically and financially. And so the way I was raised, it was when you find a good man and he's good to you. Not all he doesn't have to check all the boxes, but if he's a good man and got a good job and treats you good, he don't beat you, then that's a good man and he protecting you. And then later on, my value system of what I value as being, completely grown now is that I value protection as being my peace, but protecting me spiritually, because everything happens and manifests in the spiritual first and then the natural. So if you're protecting me spiritually, meaning we are praying together, you're warring for me in the spirit, right? You can see things coming, you can discern, right? That's a high level of protection to avoid me getting into road bumps and things like that. And from that protection can manifest the mental, the physical, the financial, and all those things. What I've learned is that my level of protection of what I value as protection definitely starts at the spiritual aspect for me, because if he's protecting me spiritually and he's warring for me and he's praying with me and for me, then what happens is that starts to bubble up into the physical realm, right? And the emotional realm, which will then manifest based on the spiritual. I didn't value that then. I didn't value that while I was married. And so now, right, divorced later, now I'm all about, again, it is a high priority. It is a non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
It is a non-negotiable. You have to be able to protect me spiritually. If you don't know when something goes down and your first instinct is not to get on your knees and war it with the Lord, it's nothing to talk about. It's no cup of coffee. It's no dinner. It's no none of that, because that has to come first. And furthermore, also, I need to be able, one of the ways that I learned that I felt protected, that I learned from my marriage, was for me to feel safe, I need to be able to feel that I can open up to you to talk about any and everything. That was a safe place for me where I was muzzled and muted in my marriage. And so that became an unsafe place and space for me. And I didn't even know it. For years, it became so just non-existent that it became normal when somebody would ask me, or he would ask me how I feel. I'm like, I don't know how, So it's so important that protection is, for me, spiritual first, and then everything else falls in line. And from that spirituality, I need to be, that safe place needs to be where I can be open, honest, communicate, be able to check you, challenge you, love you, and be your peace.
Listen, sis, Tamika, hey, welcome. She says, speak, sis. Speak. Ryan is giving you the thumbs up. But so listen, right? What you're talking about really is a lot. I'm going to use the word maturity, because it really is on a higher level of thinking, processing, and functioning, right? Because when we're talking about the physical, I don't think anybody feels like they don't want to be protected physically if necessary, right?
Yes.
But even so, y'all know from the therapeutic standpoint, right? We look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The physical safety, that's base, like that's foundational. But when we start talking about spirituality, when we start talking about intimacy, because that's real, when you say, hey, I need to feel safe enough to take my mask off, let my guard down, and let you see all of me, into me see, we're talking about that intimacy. And so I hear exactly what you're saying, that for you as a woman, that part is important, the spiritual covering and protection in that way, and the ability to protect my emotions, right? Like I share with you and I'm safe there. Like none of my business is getting out. You're not judging me. The other piece that I love that you said, and sis, so this is what I challenge the women that I coach. This is what I challenge them to get to a place where they can, and this is for the men as well, that they can both feel safe enough with each other to be able to challenge and to hold the other person accountable. Bae, no, that you ain't do. Like my auntie say, that wasn't hitting on nothing. That right there was not what we, and to be able to receive that, right? To feel safe enough to receive that. So I love that. So, okay, let me, before I get to Ryan, because I want to hear from the male, because I want to know how, when men think about protection, does that even come into play, right? So as women, this may be what's important to us, but do men, when y'all think about, okay, I got to protect my spouse, what comes to mind? So before we get there, I'm going to pull the comments in. So I want to hear from y'all, ladies, when y'all are thinking about the idea of protection, what the heck does that even mean for you, right? When you're thinking about protection, is it the physical? Is it financial? Like what comes to mind when you are thinking about that? Vernell is agreeing with you, Janelle. She says, say it and say it again.
Yes.
And that is so good. So when y'all are thinking about this idea, women, of safety, of protection, especially when you're thinking about the role that your husband, your spouse, your significant other plays in providing that, what does that look like for you all? All right, Ryan. So y'all throw that in the chat. Share, invite. Y'all know we always have a good time. Invite, share. For those of y'all that have been sharing, thank you. Keep it up. All right. Ryan, so from the man's perspective, right? When you think about protection, when you think about your wife, when you think about, okay, I need to be, as her husband, what is your role when it comes to protection? Like, how are you in your mind thinking about protecting? Right? When you hear that word, what comes to mind? What do you picture? What is that like for you?
Great question, Rachel. So, and what an amazing response, Janelle, from a woman's perspective. I loved it. That was so amazing. Yeah. And so male is kingdom male, if I can say that. My pastor taught something years ago. He said to the ladies in our church, he said, don't you ever date a man with no prayer life. Don't even date. We ain't talking about marriage. We talking about don't even date a man that does not have a prayer life. Because if he has no prayer life, he has no power. And the thing is, and he can't protect. Of course, he can't protect you with no prayer life. But he'll have power, but in a demonic way. Because if he has no prayer life with God, then he's doing other things that God would not want him to do. And a woman would not be safe with a man that has no prayer life. So for me, what do? I love protecting my queen, man. She's so sweet. Oh wow. Okay, this just came. She makes it easy for me to protect her by not being messy.
Wait. You got to say that. Okay. Go ahead, Ryan. Say it again, because I need my ladies to hear.
Yeah, say that again.
My wife makes it easy for me to protect her by not being messy.
Yes.
She's not in everybody's business. She's not calling people's names. She's not all on social media saying crazy stuff. My wife is so virtuous. She's so amazing. She's so soft-spoken, soft-hearted. And it makes my job easy. I don't have to defend. Well, babe, you shouldn't have said that. Well, I can see why they cussed you out because you said this. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. And of course, that would be, even if that was the case, that would be behind closed door. I would never rebuke my wife in front of nobody. Babe, let's go home so I can talk to you about what you did. What you did today wasn't cool. But that's another example of protection because now you're not embarrassing her. So even if it was the case where a wife acted out, well, what Jada did, which she didn't act out, but it was just that look. That look, y'all, that look was too powerful. Yeah, that look had a lot of control to it because I felt like I can't prove it. But I felt like because she knew that look was going to move Will to do something, I'm going to get you now to talk on that after you finish. Yeah, because to be honest, in the world like to say, well, I just can't help it, but I got to keep it real. I'm not faking for nobody. But when are you going to use wisdom? Yeah. It's not about being fake. Just because you can do something don't mean you should do it.
Absolutely.
So just because you can put a frown on your face when somebody says something don't mean you should, because you don't know how your spouse is going to react. I'd rather put a smile and then when we get in the car, not home, we in the car. Man, I hate that they said, and you're just going off. And that's better because nobody was embarrassed,
Yeah.
right? Our ethnicity wasn't embarrassed because now we got to see those N words. They always doing something on our shows, blah, 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 blah,
Absolutely.
right? So
Yep.
knowing how to act in public. But yeah, so back to me, man. I protect her with my prayer life. I protect her with the armor of God, having the full armor of God. Men need to know the word of God. The Bible says, when a man findeth a wife, he findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord, right? A man will leave his wife. Leave his father, his mother and father, and cleave unto his wife, right? And Jesus said, a husband should love his wife as Christ loved the church. And wait a minute, this is the part they miss. Not only do I love the church I love the church, but conjunction and give myself up for her.
Yes.
I give my desires away. I give everything that I desire for me is gone because I am working hard to make sure she is good. I'm working hard to make sure she feels protected and safe. My wife, hey, she can come on here now. You can interview her. Well, does your husband talking all that noise? Did you really feel safe? And I ain't got to force it. You better have the right answer. No, I ain't got to do that. I am confident, Janelle. I'm confident, sis, Rachel, to say that my wife's gonna be like, yes, I definitely feel protected with my husband because there were times where I had to get on some people. Wait a minute, what? You can't talk like that. That's my wife. You have to respect my wife. You know. And again, I don't have to be all taking shirts off and man, what's up, homie? What you want to do? Because that's not even my character. And and the last thing I'll say is that was what's surprising about Will. Will to me has been a stand-up guy ever since I started watching. Bel Air and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I felt like he was a stand-up guy. I never heard Will Smith womanizing, doing stupid, crazy stuff. I don't look for the stuff, but I never heard about that stuff. I never heard him doing like crazy stuff that other people were doing. Like to me, he was a stand-up guy. I'm like, oh man, this dude is cool. I ain't never heard his name drug in the mud and whatever. But this incident was the only thing that I was like, dang, Will, wow. But again, it doesn't make me look at him differently. He's still a human being at the end of the day. You know, I don't excuse what he did, but I do grace what he did because God has grace. Even the murderers, God has grace. All the murderer has to say, Lord, forgive me. And guess what? Guess what God is going to do?
Guess what he's going to do?
He's going to do just that. So for me, being spiritually protecting my wife, man, with fasting, with prayer. Oh, this is the last thing. So just recently we had a thing. So growing up, I used to love horror movies. They were fascinating to me. I loved them. Freddy Krueger, all that. That was my thing. So when I hooked up with my wife, I immediately I learned that she did not like horror movies because she's very, very sensitive spirited.
And be watching everything,
Oh, thank you, Rose.
Oh, did he freeze? Let me see if he comes back. All right. While we're waiting for him to come back, I'm going to pull in some of the comments.
There it is.
Okay, there you go. Go ahead. She can't. We heard you say that she is very sensitive about watching horror movies.
Yes, very sensitive in her spirit with horror movies. So things like suspense and the music when it like she don't like all that stuff, right? So I have to be mindful of that when I choose my movies. That's another way of protecting my wife because I don't want my wife having nightmares and dreams, and I don't want to open the portals for spirits, for the dark spirits to come in, right? Because it's my job to not allow that to happen. And she got me on me about that the other day. I was watching a movie called Don't Breathe Part 2. And so it's not scary for me, but my wife could not watch that movie. So I was watching it. She was in her office. I was watching it. So she came in. I pressed pause because I'm like, she don't like that suspicious music.
Yeah.
But even though I pressed pause, y'all, the name of the movie was still on the screen. So she being nosy, which is a good nosy, she looked at the TV and saw Don't Breathe. Babe, why are you watching Don't Breathe? That's not good. And I was like, babe, it's just a movie. It's okay. So here's the thing. But here's the thing. I'm move fast. So I watched it. Then the next day, my son and I drive the school bus. So he rides my bus. I take him to school every day. When I dropped him off at school, he said, Dad, I can't breathe. I'm hyperventilating. I can't breathe. You might have to come back and get me. Ooh. Holy Spirit brought that moment back up to me and said, see, you should have listened to your wife. And I'm not ashamed to expose that. I'm not ashamed because somebody needs to hear that even though I wasn't trying to be mean to my wife, I wasn't trying to be some type of way, because we have that type of relationship. We get along very, very well. But
She's
sometimes I
observant.
can, sometimes I can take things for granted sometimes, thinking, oh, it's going to be all right. I had no idea that was going to happen to my son. I said, you know what? I'm never doing that again, because that was scary. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
You know, but not just for my son, but also, so in closing, protecting my wife's needs, all that. I'm a preacher. I can't help it.
I see. Listen.
But go ahead.
Listen, no. This is good, right? Because what I'm hearing you say is, from the man's perspective, there are a lot of things that you all take into consideration. And the protection piece includes being willing to make sacrifices. And I think that that is so important. I want to go back briefly to what you talked about, which was that we as women, we as wives, you hear me speak that thing like I'm married. We as wives.
Listen, speak those things. You better speak those things. Okay? Just saying. The year of the bride.
We as wives, you know, there are things that we can do to make the husband's job a lot easier. And so I wanted, before you talk about that, Janelle, I'm going to pull in some of the comments from the audience because they are on it. And a lot of them were talking about, one, Ryan, when you talked about a wife being messy, that was something that Becky had said earlier, that, you know, there was that manipulation and that messiness. But then there was also the whole idea of the influence that we as women have, that we can communicate our needs and what we want without even opening our mouths. And that, this is what I teach my ladies. And in my upcoming course, I'm going to really hone in on how to use God has given us natural ability to influence, but we have to make sure that we are doing it appropriately. So, let me just bring in a few comments before Janelle, I want you to talk about that, the influence and that type of thing. Brandy said there is something a touch unusual about their relationship, and not just them, but that industry relationships make me raise my eyebrows, because it seems like the women have an unnatural hold over their men, and we definitely saw that. Somebody else has said something that I wanted to go to, and then it's just, I'm reading the comments, y'all.
Can I say something right quick?
Yeah.
2 seconds. I often say women are you all women, y'all are some powerful, because if not, God would have never created Eve. Mm-hmm. You are so powerful, but I often also say, but some women use their power in all the wrong ways. They are and we need y'all. So I just want to say that.
Yeah. Tiffany said that look may have meant if he didn't do anything, it would have been horrible for Will when they got back home. Just saying. Janelle, the influence that we as women have.
Listen, the influence that we as women have, I think sometimes we downgrade it, and I think we have to understand the source of where it comes from. And you know, back in the day, there was this song that I loved, and it was called Superwoman, and I love that song. Okay, it was by Lil Mo. I loved it. It was the thing, you know. And as women, as women, we feel like we have to be all the things and all the, you know, be the superwoman, when really the biggest S that we could ever be is submitted. It's submitted.
You're using that S word.
I'm bringing out the big guns.
Talk to us.
When we are submitted to God before we have a husband, we're submitted, when we're at that place of submission and we relinquish control, then what happens is, once you're submitted, God is able to reset our appetite. He's able to reset our thoughts, right? The mind of Christ. We're able to reset the desires of not what we want, but what he wants. And so when I'm submitted to God, it makes it easier for me to be submitted to my husband, because now God has given me the way to be able to influence in the right way. I don't have to influence with sex.
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I can influence with my mind. I can influence by being able to have a conversation and communicate to my husband when something feels off,
Yeah.
or babe, I'm discerning this, or babe, I was in prayer and I felt this, right? When you have that level of communication, and you said it, Rachel, earlier, that level of intimacy, which intimacy, when you are an intercessor, intimacy is your superpower when it
Yeah.
comes to God, because
Yeah.
those of us who, and those people that may be prophetic, it starts with your level of being an intercessor, which is the intimate level with God. And so when you get to that intimate level, and when you are intimate, you are stripped, you are submitted, you are relinquishing control for God to use you in that way. So that means, as women, when I take on the cloak of being submitted to God, he changes my ability of how I influence. How is that so, you ask? This is how. God will give you the ability to be able to come in a room and command a room without you saying not one word.
Girl,
Not one word. And let's give an example. Let's back it up with receipts, right? Jada never said or uttered a word, but her face
Come on.
still said it all. And when everyone looked at her face, right, Will's instinct was, I have to get up into honor. Now, we don't know the thought process of what he was thinking, but the silent facial expression of what she was saying without saying was enough for him to get up. So you can't tell me that that wasn't something that she wasn't operating in a level of influence, because influence, just like anything else, right? When it comes to influence, you can either, as Ryan said, have it good or bad. And in that example, it showed that the level of influence, and that's a whole level of between a husband and a wife covenant. So when you're in covenant agreement, by proxy, there are level of influences that you both have towards each other. And it comes up and it shows up in different ways. And so now, instead of her using wisdom, she was using and operating in a different speed. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that when you break covenants, you're going to influence from a different level of power and authority. And as women, it is so important that we check ourselves and make sure, God, what level am I submitted in so that I'm influencing the right way? And whether you're married, single, divorced, it doesn't matter. You want to make sure that your level of influence isn't tainted. That it isn't motivated or charged by the wrong place and the wrong spaces, because just because it's and Ron, you said it earlier, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And just because God didn't say it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So it's so important that you are channeling and making sure that, God, allow me to operate from the place of influential wisdom. May the wisdom of God, may the mind of Christ be in me and show up in my level of influence. So that way, when I'm speaking, when I'm not speaking, but speaking, right? So when those times happen, I'm able to influence the right way and it not be the wrong way. And honestly, as women, it's okay for, listen, God, give me the wisdom so that I can be able to, even though I'm submitted to my husband or I'm submitted, God, give me the wisdom so that I can be that woman, that wise woman who's always going to pray first. And be able to get the wisdom of God of what I should say and how I should act, so that I'm being an influence based on, God, what you say I'm supposed to do, and not what the world says that I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. Listen, they are going off in the comments. I'm laughing so hard at Becky. Becky said, "Oh, Harry Potter head." And the whole controlling him with other stuff. Listen, you are hitting it on the head. And Vernell said, and I'm just going to bring in some of the audience, the comments in the audience. Tamniqua said, yes, her nonverbals were on 1,000, right? And so she didn't, as women, we don't even have to say a word. And I think it was Becky that said earlier, the wisdom part, right? Where that we as women, as wives, we have the ability to shift, to change, to influence, and it needs to be done through wisdom. I was listening to, I want to say it was how you pronounce his name? Akatunde.
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 Mhm.
and they were talking on Clubhouse. And one of the things, I don't know if it was him or one of the guests that was in there, but the guest said he told his wife, you have the ability to influence me. And I need you to make sure that when you do, that you are being very mature about it, because you have the ability to shift things. Like, you can make me do something. And what I do is either going to help us as a family or it can be detrimental. And I think that part is so important for women to understand the power of the influence that we've been given, to use it wisely. And to, scripture tells us that a wise woman builds her house.
Yes.
And so
Build.
how are we building our house? Meaning, how are we supporting the men that we are connected to, right? Like, what are we doing when things happen? Are we thinking ahead, right? Like, this is so much bigger than my hair. Like, let me just, like, this is so much bigger than my pride. Tam said, Ryan, you're exactly right. That's what it is.
The Jezebel spirit. I was just, Ryan, I would listen. Solomon was the wisest man in the world.
Yep.
And yet it took one Delilah for it to all fall down. So again, and granted, she was talking, but it wasn't the talking, because sometimes that we think that, oh, we have the influence that we have to talk a lot. Again, that example, Jada said not one word, and yet Will got up and did something crazy. But you know what we didn't see? It was the slow whispers. It was the slow conversations at night that was behind the closed doors that elevated the look to go from a look to an action.
Yeah.
That's what's subtle seduction. That's what the Jezebelic spirit will do. It's subtle seduction that feeds you, that it shows off as a little disrespect, right? Well, you don't got to say all like that. It starts really little, and then it grows into something that we saw here today. So it's so important that women, we have the power to build. We have the power to tear down. We have life and death is in the power of the tongue, but it also is predicated on your level. Where are you influencing from? Where are you influencing from?
That part. Yep. And look,
So
Rebecca
good.
said Jezebel with the hint of Belial and a sprinkle of lesion. I think someone made a comment earlier that I think is important as well, right? So everyone may not have the same spiritual convictions, right? And so when you're thinking about it from that perspective, it is still important to recognize, and I'm glad that Becky, I think it was, brought that up, that it is still important to recognize that even as in the role of a wife, that you still, if you love your husband, right, and if you are looking to be wise when it comes to your household, it's still important for you to be cognizant of the why. Why are you behaving the way you are? Are you feeling insecure? If so, get you some help, right? So kind of working on those things. That's important as well. Ryan, I want to get to you from the male's perspective, right? So we've been talking about this whole, what does protection look like for a man? Are there times where the physical part becomes necessary, right? And so I'm going to tweak it just a little bit, because you mentioned earlier being a man of faith, right? So from that perspective, right? So, if we are coming from the street point, whatever, I'm going to throw hands. But for a man of faith, how does this whole idea of when is it necessary for me to lay hands? Because I'm going to be honest, at some point in time, it may be necessary. And then I'm going to want my husband. We going to lay hands together.
Oh, yeah.
Listen.
Inglewood coming all the way out, baby.
So share,
Look, I know how to, I'm like Paul, I know how to be a base. I know how to be a bound. I know how to become all things to win all people. I know how to become all things to whoop somebody's behind too, if I need to. Praise God. Amen. But no.
He said, praise God. Amen.
Look, so I can be spiritually deep. I can. But I can be one that will beat someone to the white meat if necessary behind my wife. If she feels threatened, if she was hit on, I mean, I'm talking about physically hit on. I don't care if somebody try to talk to her. Like, I ain't tripping off of that. But if somebody literally like, I'm going to take you, your mind kind of thing or whatever, yeah, I'm gonna need to handle them for real. I mean, and there's no questions asked. I'm not praying it off of you. I'm not doing. And don't get me wrong. I am one. I believe in this, in the power of spiritual forces, where you can. It's really a spiritual battle more than it is a physical battle. But God forbid somebody come in here right now, and what am I gonna do? Oh, it's a spiritual battle. Let me pray while they beating on my wife. No. No, that's just silly. That's stupid. And so for me, it's the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
They get cut out. Do y'all hear me?
Yeah, we
can hear you. Yes. He freezing. While he freezing, I'm bringing up. Sometimes it is necessary to operate in the anointing of Peter and pull out my steel. And y'all, you
see that? The devil is a lie. He trying to cut me off. No, I'm gonna say what I got to say in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
So, as I was saying, I'm not about to, we have to know the wisdom, have the wisdom to know the difference. And when it's time to put hands on, I'm not an owner of a gun. I don't like guns because my thing is, I believe in the power of Psalm 91. I feel like God will protect us from anything or anyone, right? Always be ready, just in case I got to physically do something. I may not have a gun, but I got a bunch of knives. I got a bunch of stuff around here that I can definitely disarm the enemy. Amen. So, but yeah, so to answer your question, it's not something that I look forward to, or I can't wait. I wish a Negro would. Yeah. I don't even wish that. I don't wish. Words have power. So we have to be careful. I don't want to invite the enemy. Although I'm not afraid of the enemy, I don't want to give him an invitation either. So I mind my business, make sure he mind his. If the day comes where I have to, I'm at work, my wife called me, somebody's trying to come into the house, I'm doing 100 all the way here, I'm running lights, I'm running stop sign, I don't care, and I'm going to get there while calling 911. Yeah, God forbid, right? So the answer is, you got to have the wisdom to know when it's time to be physically violent and when it's just a conversation to be had. Again, back to Will and them, that's a conversation, bro. And let me tell you this. So I wound up finding out on the radio show that Chris Rock, it was not his joke to tell. Somebody told him to say the joke. So he didn't create that joke. He wasn't the originator of the joke. Somebody else asked him to say that. And so I was like, wow, so he got a slap for somebody else. That's not cool. Yeah. But here's the thing. Now, for Chris Rock, as a man, you have to use wisdom again. Okay, they give me this joke. Now, should I say this because this woman got a condition now? So that's a little different versus if she was in the fullest of health and everything was good, then yeah, I might say it. But because she didn't know it, though. Right, we don't. Yeah, exactly. We don't know if he knew or not. So, but he still should have thought twice. Say, should I say this? Whatever. But maybe because of the history, he didn't ever think Will would do anything like that. Yeah. And from my understanding, they all been friends for a number of years. So there's never been retaliations in the past or whatever, as far as I know. I don't know. But at the end of the day, again, wisdom should have been used and whatnot. We see that God is showing us the difference between the world's wisdom and his wisdom. And I'll end with that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So listen, this has been we didn't get to go through all of the questions, but this has been a delicious conversation in which we have talked about the role that women play, the role that husbands play, and a lot of what we hit on, sometimes people don't know, right? Sometimes this isn't something that's been role modeled. Sometimes you haven't seen it. And then there's sometimes where pressure comes in. And if you are not strengthened, fortified mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it's going to be really hard when situations like that come up. And I think it's a learning, it's a lesson that everybody involved can learn from. And so even us on the outside looking in, we can really begin to challenge ourselves and look at our relationships. And as women, right, we can look to see, how have I been influencing my husband, right? Have I been at a stable place, or have I been, immature with things? And can I do better? Can I grow? So I think that's important. I want to thank y'all, Janelle, Ryan, for taking part. For those of y'all who were in the audience, really just throwing out your thoughts, your feelings, and the wisdom. I love that. Thank y'all so much. For ladies, for those of y'all who are saying, listen, I got to tighten up. I don't and you may not be married, you may be single at this time, but you're saying, listen, I see where emotionally I react instead of respond. I don't feel safe. I don't know how to connect the intimacy that Janelle and I were talking about earlier, right? I don't know how to do that. I need help with that. We have a course. I'm going to be doing a masterclass coming up. For those of y'all that are interested in that, I want you to message us or email us. Our link is in the link is in the bio. The link is in the description. So you can go through Facebook, message us there. We're going to connect you, get you on our email list so that you can be notified when we go live with our Love Like You've Never Been Hurt Before course. I'm excited about that because ladies, we fitting to get right, all the way right, so that your relationship can be how you need it to be. And then for the women that are married and you're like, yeah, I've been acting like Jada, like I'm passive aggressive, right? Like I don't say what I want, but he gonna know. He not gonna get this. No, sis, that is not what we're doing. So for those of y'all who know you need to tighten up, this course is for you as well. We also have the self-care Becoming Your Own Best Friend course. The link for that is also in here. So connect with us because 2022, what we're not doing is the same thing that we've been doing. Okay. So we are going to get better and we are going to grow. And then for the men, listen, we are not leaving y'all out. For those of y'all who are like, listen, I need to tighten up because it's real hard for me to connect with my wife, with my partner, or I don't have a safe space, right? This place of being able to just talk about what I got going on. Like, yo, life is rough and tough. I don't have a space. Brian and I talked about that last night. Connect with us because we have a course for you. All right. This has been another delicious Relationship Friday. If you enjoyed it, I want you to share this. I want you to come back next Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This has been delicious. Janelle, any last words that you want to say? Hey, Shabette joining us from Virginia Beach.
Hey, no, I will echo, make sure, women, let us make sure that we are getting our minds right, getting our emotional intelligence in order so that we can be prepared and making sure that we are owning and assuming the roles of what we are to be the virtuous women that God has called us to be. So if you haven't done so, make sure that you sign up for that class. Even share it. If you know somebody else that needs it, share it with them, or even treat them, because it's so important that we get ourselves together so that, Boaz can't come and you not be ready. And we take that story so literally. We look at the scriptures, findeth means that, honestly, it means that God is presenting us to the man. So you got to be ready to be presented. So if you haven't done so, make sure that you sign up for the class. And it was an honor and such a pleasure, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be on here. And Ryan, it was awesome having you on here too.
Yes. Ryan, any last 1 second? We'll give you 2 because Ryan is a preacher that will keep talking. Ryan, you got 30 seconds. Anything you last want to say?
30 seconds. Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Rachel, for having me. Thank you, Janelle. It's so amazing serving alongside of y'all, talking about relationships. And hey, just keep God first, man. And it's never too late, man. No matter what's been done in a marriage or the relationship, it's never too late to bounce back from it. But always know that with God, you can do all things because all things are possible through him. God bless you.
Yeah. Excellent. That was awesome. You did it. Listen, if you want to connect with Janelle, she has a conference coming up April 20. What is it?
April 20th to April 22nd.
Her information is posted. Yep, her information is posted. Get with Ryan, y'all. He has some delicious music, like for those when you're ready to just kind of soak. When you're doing your devotional, you just want to set the tune. I'm about to say the atmosphere, and I guess that's right, because not the mood, because that ain't the mood we want with our spouse. But when you're ready to set the atmosphere, so you can pray for your spouse before you get the deliciousness going, get with that. Check that out. Check it out. I will see you all next Friday, 7:30 p.m. It's been a pleasure. Y'all take care. Be blessed and stay safe.